The Assembly is now in session. Assemblymember Jones Sawyer notices the absence of a quorum. The sergeants at arms will prepare the chamber and bring in the absent members. The clerk will call the roll.
Ashajian, Alejo, Allen, Baker, Bigelow, Bloom, Bonilla, Bonta, Bro, Brown, Burke, Calderon, Campos, Chang, Chow, Chavez, David Chu, Kansenchu, Cooley, Cooper, Dababne, Daly, Daly, Dodd, Eggman, Frazier, Gaines, Gallagher, Cristina Garcia, Eduardo Garcia, Gatto, Gibson, Gomez, Gonzalez, Gordon, Gray, Grove, Hadley, Harper, Hernandez, Holden, Irwin, Jones, Jones Sawyer, Kim, Lackey, Levine, Linder, Lopez, Lowe, Mainshine, Mathis, Mays, McCarty, Medina, Melendez, Mullen, Nazarian, Obernolte, O'Donnell, Olson, Patterson, Perea, Quirk, Rendon, Ridley Thomas, Rodriguez, Salas, Santiago, Steinorth, Stone, Thurman, Ting, Wagner, Waldron, Weber, Wilk, Williams, Wood. Madam Speaker.
A quorum is now present. At this time, we're going to defer the prayer and the pledge until later in the session. Reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chambers, Sacramento, Wednesday, June 17th, 2015. The Assembly met at 7 a.m.
Mr. Holden moves and Ms. Waldron seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentation of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the governor, there are none. Messages from the Senate, there are none. Going now to motions and resolutions. To absences. For legislative business, Assemblymember Wood. For illness, Assemblymember Dale. Mr. Holden, you're recognized for your motions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 118 and allow Speaker Atkins and Assemblymember Eggman to have guests and photographers on the floor today. Ms. Eggman will have guests in the area of the member's desk for the purpose of introduction and recognition of the LGBT Pride ceremony.
Without objection, that request is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 45.5 and allow Assembly members Bloom, Frazier, Gomez, Lackey, Medina, and Nazarian to speak on adjourned in memory today.
Without objection, that request is granted.
Pursuant to Assembly Rule 96, I request unanimous consent to re-refer Senate Bill 9, Bell, and Senate Bill 400, Lara, from the Natural Resources Committee to the Transportation Committee, and then back to the Natural Resources Committee.
And without objection, such shall be the order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'd like to, at this time, go to our first guest introduction. I'd like to recognize Mr. Cooley for your guest introduction.
Good morning, colleagues. It is my honor to introduce 3 national championship winning teams from my district in fields of science competition. This is an era when we think about California competitiveness, the sorts of jobs we want to grow here. We know the importance of workforce and the development of STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, vital to the future of the state. So I am honored I have 3 different schools who have won national recognition today. 2 of the teams are from Mira Loma High School in the 8th Assembly District. The first is the Science Bowl team. They were champions of the U.S. Department of Energy National Science Bowl. This U.S. National Science Bowl is a nationwide academic competition that tests students' knowledge in all areas of science and mathematics, and it aims to encourage students to pursue careers in these fields. So just the sort of education we need here in California. More than 250,000 students have participated in the National Science Bowl across its 25-year history, and it is one of the nation's largest science competitions. The coach at Mira Loma, James Hill, has led Mira Loma High School teams to the national competition 17 times, more than any other academic coach in the United States. 2 of my guest teams went to the Science Olympiad, an event sponsored by the national nonprofit which is dedicated to improving the quality of K-12 science education, aiming to increase male, female, and minority interest in science, and creating a technologically literate workforce, and providing recognition for both outstanding achievement by both the students and their teachers. That's the National Olympiad, Science Olympiad. The Mira Loma Science Olympiad team took the championship at the NorCal Finals and second place at the Science Olympiad National Tournament held this year in Lincoln, Nebraska, and they were led by coaches Scott Martinez and Mark Porter. And finally, the Science Olympiad team from Winston Churchill Middle School were the champions of the NorCal Finals and finished 3rd overall in the national competition. Their coach, Jeff Young, is also with us today. So I thank you, colleagues, for honoring these teams from the 8th Assembly District and their outstanding academic work and perseverance on the science competitive field. It's an honor to have you here in the Assembly today.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley. I'd like to now recognize Mr. Williams for your guest introduction.
Mr. Speaker, members, I rise to welcome participants in the 2015 Capital Academy. The Capital Academy is a nonpartisan program for local Asian and Pacific Islander American local elected officials to learn more about state government. Many of the current crop of the API caucus are graduates of the Capital Academy. Please join me in welcoming this year's class, Rochelle Arizmendi, who's a council member of Sierra Madre, Basim Elkara, executive director of CARE Sacramento Valley, Mike Fong, LA Community College Board of Trustees, Hal Jin, the Chabot Las Positas Community College Board of Trustees, Roy Hashimoto, Superior Court Judge in Alameda County, Ash Kalra, Council Member of San Jose, Peter Kim, Council Member of La Palma, Rishi Kumar, Council Member of Saratoga, Polly Lowe, Council Member of Rosemead, Madison Nguyen, former Council Member of San Jose, Marjan Philhauer, Principal of Philhauer and Associates, Darren Sin, Council Member of Elk Grove, and May Torlickson, Director of the Ambrose Recreation and Park District. Please join me in welcoming the Capital Academy.
Welcome to all of our guests today. At this time, we're going to now move to the Assembly's observance of the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. I'd like to ask our guests and visitors in the rear of the chamber and in the gallery to please stand up for our prayer. Today's prayer will be offered by Assemblymember Richard Gordon. Assemblymember Gordon.
Lord, each human being is unique and a gift given to the world. We thank you for these gifts and ask you to help us celebrate our great diversity. May we also understand how much we share in common. Our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations are not dissimilar. Too often, we focus on that which makes us different. We stereotype, we pigeonhole, we typecast. When we do this, we distance ourselves from others. You have given us a great dichotomy. We are different, and we are the same. May we truly know that you want us to love one another, to love our commonness and our diversity. Amen.
I'd like to ask our guests and visitors in the chamber to please remain standing and join us for the flag salute. Please join Assemblymember Lowe as he leads us in the pledge.
Please begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Without objection, we will move to file item 10, H.R. 24, Eggman, for the purpose of third reading. Dr. Eggman, are you ready to proceed on this item?
I am.
The clerk will read.
House Resolution 24 by Assemblymember Eggman and others relative to Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month.
Dr. Eggman, you may open.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members and guests. Today I come before you to present H.R. 24, which declares June as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. 46 years ago, patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City resisted police brutality when yet again they were being dragged from the establishment to be arrested. At that time, they decided to take a stand and to fight back, which started 3 days of rioting in New York, and since then has served as the beginning of the gay rights movement in this country. This month marks 46 years, not only since the Stonewall protests, but also the anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court decision to strike down provisions of the Defense of Marriage Act to reaffirm marriage equality in California. This month, millions of people all around the cities in California and all over the world will celebrate the anniversary of the Stonewall riots that gave birth to the modern LGBT civil rights movement. Today, on this floor, we celebrate the accomplishments of LGBT people in every field of endeavors, including business, law, medicine, science, education, philanthropy, sports, arts, cultures that have all enriched our lives. We recognize groups and organizations, but most importantly, members, we recognize those individuals and those families who have the courage to come out and to be who they are and to love who they are, and those other supporters and allies who stand with us to allow us the environment in order for everyone to be who they are and to love who they love. We still have a long way to go. While we celebrate our collective journey, we also understand that there's a long way to go before we overcome prejudice and discrimination that people still have to face every single day in our own home state. So I respectfully ask for your aye vote on House Resolution 24, proclaiming this day, June 15th, as LGBT Pride Month.
This time I'd like to recognize Ms. Cristina Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, members, I'm proud to rise on behalf of the Women's Caucus and applaud the work of the LGBT Californians and thank my colleague from Stockton for bringing this resolution forward. The Pride that we celebrate today has a colorful history in the state. While we have led the nation in some LGBT struggles, we are fighting tirelessly to catch up on other issues of significance. But it is important that we always come together with mutual respect so that California's children learn to appreciate our differences, respect one another, and recognize our common experiences. When we think of the LGBT movement, we think of men like Harvey Milk who have been pioneers. But many women and transgender people have also elevated this human rights fight and empowered others. Women like Ellen DeGeneres, Jane Lynch, U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, Martina Navratilova, and actress Laverne Cox each represent a picture in the collage of life. And as this moment continues, I ask that we all focus on righting the violent wrongs transgender women are living with today. On this floor, we must unite on issues relating to and against violence. Relating to violence against all women. Let's stay this path and continue to bring justice for all women. We have many LGBT leaders to applaud today, including many role models we fight alongside in this chamber every day. I applaud the work of my LGBT colleagues today, LGBT heroes every day, and the work of all Pride awareness. Thank you.
I'd like to now recognize Mr. Lowe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today as a member of the API Legislative Caucus, as well as a member of the LGBT Caucus. The significance, particularly, is a very prideful consecutive months of May and June. But I want to highlight just the similarities between the Asian Pacific Islander community and the equality that is so important for members of the LGBT community today, in which Asian Pacific Islanders face discrimination because of the Chinese Exclusion Act or the Alien Land Law, in which Mongoloids, it was referred to, could not own property. Interracial marriage was illegal. And now in my generation, there was a time where I served as mayor of the city of Campbell, in which I could officially marry two people, but I couldn't get married myself. I could host a blood drive on City Hall property, but I could not donate blood myself. I could help write a letter of recommendation to my congressional member to support them to serve in the armed forces as a letter of support for West Point, a renowned military institution, but I could not serve myself. And so I am hopeful that we can all support this important resolution. And I stand before you here today as a colleague of yours, as a fellow elected member of the state legislature, in which discrimination still continues to occur within 4 generations of Californians. And I'm hopeful that we can recognize the importance of not only the symbolism, but the language that is so important in supporting this resolution, whether it be Madam Speaker, or whether or not it is related to our honorees here today, that discrimination ends with our generations. And so I'm hopeful that you will all join the entire state of California in supporting this resolution. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jones, sorry, you're recognized.
On behalf of the California Legislative Black Caucus, I rise to recognize June as Pride Month and celebrate the accomplishments of the LGBT community. 2 icons within the civil rights movements, Bayard Rustin and James Baldwin, were gay black men who played essential roles in defeating Jim Crow and ensuring all individuals have the right to vote. Bayard Rustin was one of Dr. King's most trusted advisors and aides. Not only did he play an essential role in organizing the 1963 March on Washington, but helped build the Southern Christian Leadership Conference into a nationwide organization. James Baldwin, playwright, poet, and civil rights activist, used his written words to inspire change and advocated for human rights for all individuals, despite race, religion, or sexual orientation. Both of these individuals were pivotal for helping to establish a precedent of equality under the law. And when police raided the Stonewall Inn, a popular gay bar in New York City on June 28, 1969, some believe it was an African American by the name of Storm Devalier who threw the first punch and led the resistance against arrest and sparked an international movement for LGBT rights. It is with this shared call of unity and humility I urge your aye vote on H.R. 24.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, Dr. Eggman, you may close. Excuse me, I realize I did not see Mr. Chavez. You're recognized.
That's okay. I'm used to people not seeing me. I'm kind of short. No, in all seriousness, I stand on the Republican caucus to support this H.R. Support it because, as you know, in our party, we often talk about the founding fathers and the idea of actually fighting against slavery and the equality of all men and women. This speaks to the core elements of Republicans. Now, I know there's some discussion about, off the side, that this actually looks at the issue of immigration and about what is a couple and how it impacts upon the immigration law. That's true. That's a change. That's a stretch. That's something we're dealing with. But I'd ask us to look into our souls and hearts and think about what really is the individual rights that we often talk about within our party. This is something that will make our state better, our nation better, and I believe will also make our party better. So I'd hope that we would have this in a bipartisan support and support this HR. I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
At this time, seeing and hearing no further discussion, now, Dr. Eggman, you may close.
Thank you, members, and thanks to all my colleagues who spoke on the floor today. Indeed, we still have a long way to go. We have made huge progress, but we can look around and know that we still have strides to do to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And on your desk, members, you'll find a small swag bag from the LGBT caucus to help us celebrate our rainbow of diversity here in California, as well as some Harvey Milk stamps symbolizing the first LGBT elected person. So with all that in mind, and with the ceremony to begin, I respectfully ask for your aye vote and ask for the first roll call to be open for co-authors.
The first roll call will be open for co-authors on H.R. 24. The clerk will open the roll. These are for co-authors. At this time, there are 54 co-authors that have been added. And also at this time, we will ask for a roll call on this resolution. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 57, noes 0. The resolution passes. We will now begin our special ceremony to commemorate LGBT Pride Month. Before we move to our video presentation and honorees, on behalf of the LGBT caucus, we want to acknowledge a few special guests who have joined us today. First, we have sitting in the front the Honorable John Laird, who is a former member of this House and is now California Secretary for Natural Resources. And I know somewhere in this chamber we also have the Honorable Dan McCorkadale, who is a former member of the State Senate. And through the course of today's proceeding, we will be welcoming other guests who are present for today's ceremony who are seated throughout the chamber. Each year, the California Legislative LGBT Caucus proudly honors individuals and organizations in recognition of their extraordinary accomplishments in their respective fields and for their outstanding leadership and efforts to promote equal rights for all LGBT Californians. At this time, we will now view a video about the history of the LGBT movement. If I could ask for the lights to be dimmed and to begin the video.
Why do they hate me? What have I done to them?
While California currently has some of the strongest civil rights protections in place, it wasn't always the case.
Why would anyone choose to be treated the way homosexuals are treated in our society? Why would anyone choose that?
LGBT people have long been singled out, considered mentally ill, and viewed as less than human.
First of all, there is no evidence that a person is born with this tendency. In fact, the fact that many are reformed is evidence that that's not so. Are they born with bestiality, pedophiliac tendencies? How about an adulterer and a fornicator, all of which are condemned likewise?
Hate crime protections, hospital visitation rights, adoption and surrogacy, these basic rights were pipe dreams for the LGBT community. The march toward LGBT equality is a long, arduous, and bittersweet one. It was a different time and place 40, 20, even 10 years ago. Back then, there were no openly gay officials to advocate our needs. Community activists relied on our friends and allies for some of our earliest victories. In 1976, a bill to decriminalize sodomy, authored by then Assemblymember Willie Brown and State Senator George Moscone, was being heard in the Senate, but was hopelessly deadlocked in a tie. It was a 7-hour wait before Lieutenant Governor Mervyn Dimely was flown to the Capitol via helicopter to cast the deciding vote. It was undoubtedly a momentous occasion, but civil rights should not be left to chance. The election of Harvey Milk, the first openly gay elected official in California, paved the way for those to follow. In 1994, Sheila Kuehl would make history as the first openly gay member of the legislature, soon to be joined by Carol Migden, Jackie Goldberg, Christine Kehoe, Mark Leno, and John Laird. Together, the LGBT caucus was officially recognized in 2002. These openly gay legislators were our voices and advocates, but it was an uphill battle.
We need to bring out the best in each of us, our goodness, not our fear. You see, fear leads to hatred.
Simple reforms like anti-discrimination protections for students failed several times before succeeding. Granting same-sex couples the same privileges as straight couples was unimaginable. It would take several attempts before the state would grant domestic partnerships to same-sex couples. Many viewed civil rights for the LGBT community as special rights, and some sought to limit them.
This bill seeks to assert that some groups have more rights than others.
An initiative that sought to ban openly gay teachers qualified, but was ultimately defeated. And while California was the first state to pass marriage equality through legislative action not once, but twice, it was vetoed by the governor. The voters, too, passed initiatives that limited marriage to one man and one woman. These defeats stung, but they taught us that we were not alone, that we had friends and allies to carry some of the weight. They not only spoke their minds, they also spoke with their hearts.
And so I believe that any American that has those core values of honor, courage, and commitment, and any American that's willing to risk their life for their country should have the opportunity to serve openly and honorably. And I rise today in support of this resolution.
And this full-page ad was targeted towards Latino members of this legislature. And the take on it was in calling upon us as Latino legislators to defend la familia, to defend the family, to defend Catholic values. Members, I will always defend my family. And my family includes a brave young woman who lived in the closet for years before she had the courage and the support and the love to come out of that closet and to find safety.
Many of the victories we enjoy today were hard-won and serve as a model for the rest of the country. California became the first state to ban so-called reparative therapy and to include LGBT history in school curriculum. Marriage equality was restored to California, and its constitutionality may be decided once and for all.
I, John A. Perez, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
In 2010, the California State Assembly elected its first openly gay speaker.
The members will now escort the speaker-elect to the rostrum.
And in 2014, the Assembly made history again by electing its first lesbian speaker.
Upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations.
We have much to celebrate, but much more to accomplish. Homelessness, transgender issues, employment protections. The cause for LGBT equality will not end with marriage. The LGBT movement is sustained by the courage of our leaders and allies. And this celebration honors the beauty and hardship of that struggle. The next generation of LGBT leaders and allies has taken the mantle. The march towards LGBT equality is a long and arduous and bittersweet one, but we are in good company. Equality for all is within our reach.